attention, which I'm sure that you've noticed. We do not have room to properly take care of visitors and relatives and friends of our patients. When we are busy, we do not have room for even all of the patients that we would like to care for.
In the golden age of radio, a booming voice promised rejuvenation, promoting a radical surgery. His name was John Romulus Brinkley, and his legacy extends far beyond the crackle of airwaves. Brinkley's story is a saga of medical fabrications, public deception, and a fight for the future of American health. Dive into the world of this charismatic charlatan and discover how his exploits continue to shape our battle against medical quackery today. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Quack. John Brinkley's journey to becoming a notorious medical charlatan began humbly in the town of Beta in Jackson County, North Carolina, on July 8, 1885. The details of his early years are shrouded in some mystery, but what is clear is that Brinkley received little formal education. This lack of a foundation in legitimate medical science would prove to be a critical factor in his future exploits. However, even during his youth, there were hints of his penchant for unconventional approaches. Some accounts suggest a fascination with alternative cures and a desire to project an image of greater knowledge, which would later transform into full-blown medical quackery. Brinkley's upbringing, marked by both poverty and a lack of traditional schooling, may have instilled in him a sense of insecurity and a yearning for recognition. These early experiences, coupled with his apparent openness to unconventional methods, likely laid the groundwork for his willingness to exploit loopholes and manipulate the public's trust in the name of fame and fortune. Chapter 2. The Medicine Show begins. John Brinkley's medical career began on a decidedly unmedical path. After a short and likely uninspired stint at a medical college, Brinkley found himself drawn to the vibrant, if ethically questionable, world of the traveling medicine show. These events, blending vaudeville entertainment with dubious medical pitches, captivated audiences across the country. Brinkley, with his natural charisma, or perhaps sheer audacity, took to this world like a duck to water. Alongside his first wife, he transformed into a traveling doctor, albeit one dispensing tonics and herbal concoctions of dubious effectiveness. This experience on the medicine show circuit proved to be a pivotal point in Brinkley's life. Here, he honed his skills as a showman, captivating audiences with his flamboyant persona and questionable medical pronouncements. He learned the art of the pitch, of weaving a narrative that promised health and vitality through his miracle cures. More importantly, the medicine show circuit exposed him to the power of suggestion and the public's willingness to believe in quick fixes, especially when presented with a charismatic snake oil salesman. These early forays into medical quackery would become the foundation for Brinkley's later, more elaborate and outrageous schemes. Chapter 3. A Dubious Doctorate. Brinkley's ambitions extended far beyond the medicine show circuit. He craved medical legitimacy, which led him to procure a fraudulent medical degree. Unable to complete a legitimate medical degree program due to both financial constraints and his own lack of academic rigor, Brinkley resorted to a shortcut, a diploma mill known as the Kansas City Eclectic Medical University. These institutions were notorious for awarding medical degrees in exchange for fees rather than rigorous academic study. Armed with this dubious qualification, Brinkley set up his own medical practice. However, his lack of real medical knowledge quickly became apparent. His treatments were ineffective at best and potentially harmful at worst. Despite this, Brinkley's charisma and gift for self-promotion helped him attract patients, particularly in rural areas where access to qualified medical professionals was limited. This period of Brinkley's career serves as a stark illustration of the dangers of medical quackery. It highlights the vulnerability of patients who place their trust in charlatans and the devastating consequences of a medical system that allows such individuals to operate. Chapter 4. The Goat Gland Solution. John Brinkley's claim to fame and infamy stemmed from his outrageous procedure goat gland transplantation. In the 1910s, Brinkley began promoting goat testicle implantation as a cure for male impotence. This procedure, with its shock factor and dubious scientific basis, propelled him into the national spotlight. Brinkley's misguided goat gland transplant theory was based on a completely flawed understanding of endocrinology, a field still in its early stages at the time. He believed that transplanting animal glands, specifically those from goats, could revitalize a man's virility. This theory stemmed from the notion that glands played a vital role in regulating bodily functions, and that a healthy gland from a young, virile animal could somehow invigorate a man suffering from impotence or other ailments. Brinkley aggressively marketed this procedure, not just as a solution for impotence, but as a cure-all for a wide range of ailments plaguing men. These included sexual dysfunction, infertility, low energy, and even general debility. He claimed that the goat glands would act as a sort of biological fountain of youth, restoring men's health, vigor, and sexual prowess. Brinkley's outlandish claims and flamboyant personality captured the public's attention, and his goat gland transplantation procedure became a medical sensation. Albeit a highly controversial one, medical professionals roundly condemned the practice, pointing out the lack of scientific evidence and the potential dangers of such surgery. However, Brinkley's charisma and knack for self-promotion, coupled with the desperation of some men seeking a cure for impotence, fueled the popularity of his goat gland transplantation. Chapter 5: Fame and Fortune. John Brinkley's rise to fame and fortune was closely linked to his strategic use of radio broadcasting. Recognizing the immense potential of this new medium, Brinkley established his own radio station, KFKB, before later setting up XER in Mexico around 1930. This strategic move allowed him to bypass stricter regulations in the United States and broadcast his message across a vast area. Brinkley's radio programs, filled with personal anecdotes and persuasive sales pitches, showcased his adeptness at self-promotion. He presented himself as a caring doctor, offering solutions to men's health problems through his controversial goat gland transplantation surgery. Brinkley's radio broadcasts weren't just about medical advice, they were a form of entertainment. He incorporated music, interviews, and even soap operas into his programming, all strategically designed to keep listeners engaged and receptive to his message. This innovative approach to radio broadcasting proved to be a goldmine for Brinkley. Listeners, enticed by his charisma and desperate for solutions to their ailments, flooded his station with letters and requests for his treatments. Brinkley's radio broadcasts not only burnished his reputation, but also served as a direct marketing tool for his goat gland transplantation surgery. He offered consultations and prescriptions over the air, further blurring the lines between legitimate medical practice and unethical self-promotion. Through his strategic use of radio, Brinkley amassed a vast fortune, transforming himself from a small-town quack into a national medical celebrity. Chapter 6: The Milford Miracle. John Brinkley's legacy in Milford, Kansas, sparked significant economic growth, with his hospital creating numerous jobs and stimulating local businesses, which contrasted sharply with his medical notoriety. He established his hospital there in 1917, and it quickly became the heart of his medical empire. While Brinkley's treatments were soundly denounced by the medical community, the hospital itself undeniably brought a wave of prosperity to Milford. Brinkley hired a significant number of local residents, and his flamboyant personality, coupled with a strategic investment in community projects, made him a popular figure. He sponsored local events, donated to charities, and projected an aura of being a champion for Milford. This local adulation served as a powerful shield against the mounting skepticism of the medical establishment. Brinkley understood the power of community trust. He cultivated a folksy, down-to-earth demeanor that resonated with the townspeople. He wasn't just a doctor, he was a neighbor, a friend, a booster for their town. This carefully crafted image helped deflect some of the criticism surrounding his controversial practices, while whispers about the legitimacy of his treatments undoubtedly reached Milford. Brinkley's economic contributions and personal charm outweighed those doubts for many residents. The town benefited from his presence, and that, for some, was enough to overlook the growing chorus of disapproval from outside the community. Brinkley's story in Milford highlights the tension that can arise between economic self-interest and legitimate medical concerns. Chapter 7: Political Aspirations. John Brinkley's ambitions extended beyond medicine. He craved political power. He saw politics as a way to not only shield his medical empire from scrutiny, but also expand his influence. Brinkley launched a series of political campaigns, most notably for the governorship of Kansas. His populist messaging, folksy charm, and name recognition from his radio broadcasts resonated with a portion of the electorate. Brinkley's political campaigns were a shrewd attempt to leverage his popularity to gain legitimacy for his controversial medical practices. By positioning himself as a man of the people, he hoped to gain political capital that could protect his goat gland transplantation business and potentially even pave the way for wider acceptance of his dubious medical theories. Although Brinkley ultimately fell short of winning the governorship, his near success in these campaigns underscores the power of charisma and populism, even in the face of medical skepticism. Chapter 8. The AMA Strikes Back. John Brinkley's flamboyant medical claims and growing popularity made him a thorn in the side of the American Medical Association, AMA, the leading professional organization for physicians in the United States. The AMA, led by the influential Dr. Morris Fishbein, viewed Brinkley as a dangerous charlatan who preyed on the vulnerable and undermined public trust in legitimate medicine. Fishbein, a tireless advocate for ethical medical practices, saw Brinkley as a cancer on the profession. Fishbein spearheaded a multi-pronged attack against Brinkley. He wielded his position as editor of the prestigious JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, to publish scathing exposés on Brinkley's dubious medical practices. These articles meticulously deconstructed Brinkley's claims, pointing out the lack of scientific evidence for his goat gland transplantation and highlighting the potential dangers of the surgery. Fishbein didn't stop there. He lobbied for stricter regulations on radio broadcasting, specifically targeting the lax standards in Mexico, where Brinkley had strategically set up his base station, XER. The AMA believed that by curbing Brinkley's ability to use radio as a megaphone for his medical misinformation, they could significantly limit his reach and influence. Brinkley, a fighter who thrived on controversy, refused to go down without a fight. He responded with a barrage of lawsuits against the AMA and Fishbein, accusing them of slander and attempting to silence his medical discoveries. He used his radio show, a powerful tool that the AMA was ardently trying to take away, to rally his supporters and paint himself as the victim of a jealous medical establishment, afraid of his groundbreaking but medically unsound treatments. These legal battles dragged on for years, filling the pages of newspapers and further solidifying Brinkley's image as a medical maverick in the eyes of his loyal listeners. The AMA, however, had the backing of the scientific community and a growing public sentiment that favored evidence-based medicine. Ultimately, the AMA prevailed in its efforts to discredit Brinkley's medical claims. Chapter 9. The Decline of an Empire. John Brinkley's flamboyant medical empire began to crumble in the early 1930s as a series of legal and financial challenges converged. The relentless attacks from the AMA, spearheaded by Dr. Morris Fishbein, finally began to undermine Brinkley's credibility. In 1929, the Federal Radio Commission revoked Brinkley's broadcasting license due to his outlandish claims and lack of proper qualifications. This, coupled with increasing pressure from the Mexican government due to the AMA's lobbying efforts, forced Brinkley to shut down his powerful Mexican radio station, XER, in 1930. Losing his broadcasting platform significantly hampered his ability to reach new patients and market his controversial treatments. Financial woes also began to plague Brinkley's empire. Legal battles with the AMA were costly, and the decline in new patients due to the loss of his radio show strained his finances. Additionally, several lawsuits from disgruntled patients who had suffered complications from his goat gland transplantation surgeries further eroded public trust and his bottom line. By the early 1930s, the cracks were starting to show in Brinkley's once thriving medical empire. The decline had begun, and it would be a swift and spectacular fall from grace for the self-proclaimed goat gland doctor. Chapter 10. A New Frontier in Mexico. In a strategic response to increasing legal pressure in the US, Brinkley moved his operations to Mexico in the early 1930s, taking advantage of more lenient broadcasting regulations. Mexico had lax restrictions on radio power output, enabling Brinkley to establish a new station, Zera, which became a true border blaster. Zera's immense signal strength allowed Brinkley's voice to boom across the border, reaching a vast American audience. He cleverly used this platform to reignite his medical exploits, promoting his goat gland transplantation surgery and other dubious treatments to a new generation of listeners. Brinkley's broadcasts weren't limited to medical misinformation. They also featured a mix of music, entertainment, and even religious programming. This eclectic approach kept listeners engaged and receptive to his message, making Zira a powerful tool for Brinkley to not only promote his medical empire, but also influence American popular culture. Chapter 11. The Final Con. Even with his medical empire in decline, John Brinkley remained a tenacious showman. Throughout the 1930s and into the 1940s, he desperately clung to his dream of medical notoriety and financial gain. This period was marked by a flurry of increasingly outlandish medical claims and treatments. Brinkley, ever the opportunist, attempted to capitalize on new fads and anxieties. He dabbled in promoting treatments for everything from hay fever to impotence, all with the same dubious scientific backing as his goat gland transplantation. Brinkley's fight against the AMA and the legal system also continued during this time. He launched new lawsuits, some frivolous and others more strategic. However, the tide had turned against him. The AMA had successfully exposed him as a fraud, and his once loyal following began to dwindle. Legal decisions increasingly went against him, further draining his financial resources. Brinkley's final attempts to revive his career were a testament to his tenacity, but ultimately, a futile effort to recapture the glory days of his medical empire. Chapter 12. The Legacy of a Charlatan. John Brinkley's legacy is a complex mix of negative consequences and unintended contributions. His quackery undoubtedly harmed patients, fueled public mistrust in alternative medicine, and highlighted the dangers of lax regulations in the medical field. The AMA's successful takedown of Brinkley served as a cautionary tale and a reminder of the importance of evidence-based medicine. However, Brinkley's outlandish claims, though rooted in pseudoscience, inadvertently sparked conversations about previously taboo topics like sexuality and aging in the medical profession. His focus on male impotence, while addressed through his dubious goat gland transplants, brought attention to a condition that was rarely discussed openly at the time. Brinkley's story also underscores the enduring allure of quick fixes and miracle cures, a challenge the medical profession continues to face today. Chapter 13. The End of the Road. The final years of John Brinkley's life were a stark contrast to the flamboyant heyday of his medical empire. Faced with mounting legal battles, financial strain, and a tarnished reputation, Brinkley's carefully constructed world began to crumble. The lawsuits he relentlessly pursued against the AMA were financially draining, and losing his radio station significantly reduced his ability to attract new patients. Public trust, once a cornerstone of his success, had eroded due to the AMA's relentless exposés and the mounting evidence of his medical quackery. By the early 1940s, Brinkley was a broken man, both physically and financially. A series of heart attacks took a toll on his health, culminating in the amputation of one of his legs. Declared bankrupt and facing federal charges of mail fraud, Brinkley never got to see his final case play out in court. He died penniless in San Antonio, Texas, in 1942, a lonely and forgotten figure. John Brinkley's story serves as a cautionary tale of the dangers of medical quackery and the importance of evidence-based medicine. While his legacy is undeniably tarnished, it also offers a glimpse into the evolving landscape of American medicine and the public's enduring fascination with quick fixes and medical marvels. Chapter 14. Modern Quacks and the Shadow of Brinkley. John Brinkley's legacy extends far beyond his own time. Even in the modern era, with vast advancements in medical science, charlatans and snake oil salesmen continue to thrive. These modern quacks exploit similar vulnerabilities and anxieties as Brinkley, often leveraging new platforms like social media to spread misinformation. They prey on people's hopes for quick fixes, miracle cures, and alternative solutions to complex medical conditions. Brinkley's story informs our understanding of medical quackery in several ways. Firstly, it highlights the enduring appeal of charismatic figures who promise simple solutions to complex problems. Secondly, it emphasizes the importance of skepticism towards any medical claims that sound too good to be true, especially those lacking scientific backing. Brinkley's downfall serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us to prioritize evidence-based medicine over sensational claims. Finally, Brinkley's legacy underscores the need for continued vigilance and robust regulations in the medical field. While significant progress has been made since Brinkley's era, new technologies and ever-evolving communication methods create fresh opportunities for charlatans to exploit the public. By staying informed, exercising skepticism, and demanding scientific evidence, we can protect ourselves from falling prey to the shadow of Brinkley and the modern-day medical quacks who follow in his footsteps. John Brinkley's story, though outrageous, serves as a stark reminder of the importance of evidence-based medicine in a world teeming with misinformation. If you enjoyed this delve into medical history, consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations into the fascinating and sometimes bizarre world. Let me know in the comments what other historical figures you'd like to see explored.